Welcome to the 803rd Interstellar Song Contest! Not so fast, I'm in control. Wait, who are you? The name's Kid. This is me go. Win. Because we win. That's win, not wint. This is not Diamonds Are Forever. We're more of a Bonnie and Clyde duo, rather than a Mr. Wint and Mr. Kid. The names just sound similar. We're Harions, and your corporation, who sponsor you, them, committed genocide by wiping out a lot of our people and stealing our flowers to create poppy-flavored honey. So now we want revenge. So now we're going to commit a big genocide to frame the corporation for committing mass genocide again, as revenge against them for what they did to us. In other words, you're fucked, mate. Oh, shit. Not so fast, Hellions. I am the Doctor, and I will stop you. It's Doctor Who. You can't stop me, Doctor Who. You have put ice in my heart. That will likely stay there forever. I will send you into the furthest corners of space as punishment for your actions here today. Oh, yeah, I'd like to see you try. You know what? No, I won't do that. That would be nice of me. No, instead, I'm going to use my hologram using light energy to electric shock you to the point of extreme pain, basically torturing you and over again as punishment for your actions. Doctor, what are you doing? Belinda, you're alive. Oh, thank goodness. Curse you, Doctor Who. Ow, that hurt. You're torturing a genocide survivor. But he had sent all those people in the arena into space. If it wasn't for me, with the gravity shields, they'd be dead. And he was about to do another huge genocide. Yes, but this is not the way. This isn't how you stop the bad guys. You're becoming a bad guy yourself. You're right. Oh my God, Rassilon. You're right. I'm sorry, Belinda. I just got so triggered because I remembered my people being wiped out twice. And the pain of being the last of the Time Lords twice. I almost went too far. I did go too far. I nearly became the Time Lord Victorious, or the hybrid again. Sorry. I've not felt like this way since the Master destroyed my people. All the time when I thought I lost them all in that. I'm sorry. Oh, fuck you. Fuck you. Oh. Well, Doctor, once you've taken me home, we're through. For realsies this time. Like I thought you were absolutely amazing and all beforehand, but now I'm actually really scared of you. And now I've seen you do this, I'm like, I don't even, like, maybe I might have liked to do more travels later down the line. Perhaps maybe we would have stayed in touch as friends. But now, no, we're done. Once I'm back home, we're done. Simple as. Oh, well, forget that then. Okay, whatever, mate. Fuck you too, I guess. Yeah. Sorry, Belinda, I'll drop you home and then, yeah, you don't have to see me again. Bye. Oh yeah, and this video is not made for kids, including this kid. And also, slight amendment to last review sketch. I said that Mr. Ringading said roll them, but it was actually roll M, so I misquoted that. Apologies. Oh well, anyway, time for the review. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Doctor Who Season 2 of the Bad Wolf Era, Episode 6, the Interstellar Song Contest. Now, if I got this timed correctly, this video should be coming out on my birthday, 26th birthday specifically, or maybe the day after. Woo! I'm actually recording it a day earlier, so depending on how quickly we get it edited and uploaded, hopefully it'll come out on May 21st, 2025. Birthday! If not, maybe early hours of Thursday the 22nd. So, does this review continue the streak of me reviewing 10 out of 10 Doctor Who stories, either on this channel or on the Retro channel? So I did The Android Invasion and The Stolen Earth Journey's End in 2019 and 20 respectively, for my 20th and 21st birthdays respectively. And then on this channel, the revisitation review of The Haunting of Villa Diodati on my 22nd birthday in 2021. 2023 and 22 didn't have any. I don't recall. Last year I didn't do a review, but I did finish editing and release the first of 2 Lupin the Third Part 6 Blu-ray unboxings today, and then the second one early hours of the 22nd of May. So have we got an Android Invasion, a Stolen Earth Journey's End, a The Haunting of Villa Diodati, or a Lupin the Third Part 6 story today? Well, Lupin the Third Part 6 is kind of a bit of a broad stretching, but for the most part it was one of the weakest series. I'm going to say it's probably one of the Lupin range, actually. It's going to be one of them. It's not as good as the best of that series, but it's not also anywhere near the heights of those other 3 Doctor Who stories I've reviewed back in the day on my 20th, 21st and 22nd birthdays. This is no Android Invasion, Stolen Earth Journey's End, or even Haunting of Villa Diodati. Yeah, a Whittaker episode is better. Yeah, don't be surprised, there's great ones in the Whittaker era, just as there's some great ones here. You just got some not so great ones in both as well. This one case, I would say this is a good episode. This one's very good. For the most part, I really enjoyed the majority of it, but I have a huge problem. And if you see my reaction of the episode that I put out on Sunday, you'll know what it is. Most of that reaction was kind of a bit of a rant about that, slash sort of like getting my feelings out about that. But for the most part, I really enjoyed this episode, but I've got a huge problem. Also, there's a surprise character return and the Mrs. Flood reveal, which also features another surprise character return. But more on those and my big issue with the story later. So the plot of this episode sees the Doctor and Belinda in their final Vindicator tracking mission, popping by to get the Vindicator to get them back to Earth on the 24th of May 2025. To get Belinda home, they arrive at the Harmony Arena, not to be confused with Harmony Shoal from the Peter Capaldi era, to watch the Interstellar Song Contest, the 803rd specifically, I believe, hosted, and they decide to stick around and watch that, as it's basically intergalactic Eurovision. However, whilst they're there, a pair of Hellions called Kid and Win infiltrate the Harmony Arena, Win posing as a technician, and then Kid storming in and taking command, as they are basically planning to get revenge on their species, who were basically destroyed in a genocide. Them and their planet were destroyed in a genocide caused by the corporation backing the Interstellar Song Contest to create their poppy-flavored honey. So they're there to get revenge on the corporation by sabotaging the event and sending all of the contestants and the spectators into space to suffocate before setting off a delta wave to kill everybody watching the pre-recorded dress rehearsal. However, some people don't go up into space, but the Doctor trips the Mavity field, that's the gravity field, but since Wobbly Yonder they've called it Mavity, and therefore everybody's actually in suspended animation, frozen, a bit like Rylan, who, by the way, plays himself hosting the Interstellar Song Contest. So everybody's kind of just in suspended animation in space. The Doctor's able to escape that by having flashes of Susan Foreman, who is the first of our two big returning characters in this story. That was kept as a surprise, unless you're one of the people who read the leaks. Fuck those leaks. But it was a big shocking surprise to see Susan here. She doesn't really do an awful lot, but she is able to wake the Doctor up so he can then propel himself on a confetti cannon back to the space station. Very much like the Fifth Doctor with his cricket ball in Fall to Doomsday to get back to the TARDIS. He flung that against a spaceship and then caught it, and the gravity pushed him back towards the TARDIS, or the Mavity as it's now known. So he does a similar thing here, and he's helped by Gary and Mike, a pair of spectators who they actually took the seats from by mistake. Meanwhile, Belinda meets up with a singer called Cora and her agent, who were spared from being killed by Wynne, because Cora turns out to be another Hellion, this time trying to actually sing. Fun fact, she initially poses as being from Tryon, another Fifth Doctor reference, that being the home planet of Companion Turlough. But she's actually from Hellion, and she recognises Wynne and Kid. Not Winton Kid from Diamonds Are Forever, Wynne and Kid. And she tells Belinda and her agent about the corporation basically causing a genocide on their planet, and then causing lots of rumours of the Hellions supposedly doing it to themselves and now are considered evil people. So Kid's following in that speculation of that, doing the things that is expected of him. The Doctor, as far as I'm aware, does not know of the genocide. He knows that they want revenge, Kid and Wynne, and he is very angry about what they've done so far. He has ice in his heart. So he goes up with a hologram to confront them, but and we'll get to my big problem of the episode, is he uses the hologram to shock Kid. Now, this isn't a bad way to defeat the villain initially, but then he keeps doing it. He keeps getting more angry and taking out his anger and hatred on him, and because he is triggered, as he says later, because of the whole genocide thing, reminding him of what happened to his own people, the Time Lords, as we saw in Series 12, or, well, the aftermath of in Series 12, what the Master did. The episode does treat this as the Doctor is going too far situation, even with Susan telling him to stop. But the problem is, the Doctor is basically, whilst Kid is a villain, and he's about to commit a massive genocide, just after supposedly killing a lot of other people. But the thing is, because he is himself a genocide survivor, and the Doctor is also a genocide survivor in a way, it does come across as a bit it doesn't feel great, with the Doctor basically just torturing this guy. Now, this could have worked as the Doctor then realizes they go too far moment, like in the Waters of Mars after saving Adelaide and getting full of power, like they feel so powerful, like, and the Time Lord Victorious multimedia event. Or even like in Hellbent, where he ends up going against everything he stood for and becomes the villain for that story, only to realise that later on and accepts that he's become the hybrid. Now, I don't really like how that story did all that. I mean, I can see where they were going with in that story, but I don't think it worked very well. But I'll give Hellbent this. They acknowledge that he went too far here. Whilst the Doctor does have this moment where it looks like he knows he's gone too far, but whilst he may be a little repentive, he's still kind of like still says to Kid that he's still got ice in his heart, and they have their little, as I mentioned in the reaction, Kid's like, "Oh, I'll be back, Doctor Who." Grr. And Doctor's like, "I'll be waiting," much like the Sixth Doctor said to Davros in Revelation of the Darks. But Kid's not Davros. Yeah, he did try to commit a massive genocide or two, but A, he's a genocide survivor in himself, and B, the Doctor really should have realised he has gone too far and not be like, "Oh, I will be waiting for your return, evildoer," like, say, if it was Conrad or Al saying it, or even the barber if he hadn't redeemed. Yeah, no, it just doesn't feel so good. And what's worse is neither Belinda nor Cora tell him about the genocide. So I think the Doctor only finds out about it when Cora does her song. I feel like we were close. I think it could have worked, but he needed to be himself told off for what he did, rather than it kind of just being brushed under the rug. And similarly, and this was an issue I had whilst the genocide thing was more of a seeing everybody else's opinions. I didn't like the fact that they didn't go off and tell off the corporation or bring them down as well as punishment for what they did to the Hellions. There's a lot of innocent Hellions dead, and only two of them actually tried to kill a lot of other people in retaliation. The corporation's probably, well, it's a big corporation, but the Doctor doesn't go off to tell them off, or Belinda doesn't go off to tell them off. I feel that was missing. I think they should have gone and punished the corporation for what they've done, especially if Win and Kid they're arrested at the end. So I think they should have done the same for the corporation. And I think not doing that, and or the Doctor being told off by Belinda or Cora, maybe Kid smirked whilst he was being tortured, and the Doctor, as he was doing it, and he realised Kid was toying with him, maybe going on, that wouldn't have been so bad. But no, he's in pain and he just can't stop, not even when Susan tells him to. It's only once Belinda turns up he does, and even then, like I said, she doesn't tell him about the genocide of the Hellions, nor does she call him out for that. She says she's scared of him and worried, concerned about how he's been like in this episode, but she doesn't actually call him out. She doesn't tell him off. She doesn't say, "After this, we're done," sort of thing. I mean, she wants to get home anyway, but it's like completely done. So yeah, I think you either needed the Doctor to realise he went too far and actually be apologetic to that, and or Belinda telling him off, and or go and tell off the corporation / bring them down, or better still, all three. Like maybe Belinda basically goes off on one at the Doctor about it. He realizes he did go too far, and then later on, before they go, they get in contact with the corporation, and they basically just bring them down. I feel like that would have been a great way to end the story. As fun as the bring everybody down from the Mavity field and restoring them and having Cora's song at the end, well, that as great as that was, but I think that we're missing that piece of bring the corporation down as well for what they did, especially as they're even more guilty. Because at least they stopped Kid and Win from committing their genocide, so they've got to be punished in a much bigger way. But no, they let them off scot-free, other than Cora calling them out with the song and basically bringing their stuff to light. But as far as we're aware, they were off scot-free besides that. Maybe a Target novelisation will expand on how that goes down afterwards in the future, if they do a Target novelisation of this story next year. It's not going to be one of the ones later this year. That's going to be the first 3 episodes plus last year's finale. But if they do a Target novelisation of this story at any point, hopefully that's going to be expanded on towards the end, because I feel like that is a big piece that's missing. And I feel like this climax could have been rewritten a bit to amend that. And then maybe the whole Doctor of torturing a genocide survivor wouldn't seem so bad, because then the Doctor then does realise he goes too far and goes off and gets telling off by Belinda, and then they go off to tell off the real baddies, that like the even bigger baddies, who aren't on the off-screen bigger baddies. But they don't do any of that. Well, a little bit of the Doctor being remorseful, but he's still, but not, not say, like say the 10th Doctor is at the end of the Waters of Mars. Like they really know they messed up, and I feel like that just leaves a bit of questionable politics, and the story doesn't really know who to side with because of that. And I think it could have been made really clear if they just showed like, yeah, it is, both sides are on the wrong, and the Doctor almost goes to that level, but then and is told off for it, and he realizes how bad he went. But no. But other than my big problem with the end, or at least the third act of the story, is it even the third act? Because by the time Rylan is saying, let's listen to Cora's song, it's about 37 minutes in, and it's a 47.5-minute episode. So maybe it's actually more of the middle than the third act. So I would say the climax then. Yeah, actually, that is a thing. This episode is over really quickly. If it wasn't for the stuff leading into next week and or the Mrs. Flood reveal, this probably would be one of the shorter revival era episodes. This one is fairly short. Cora's song does take up quite a bit of runtime as well, as does the stuff with Graham Norton at the end. But yeah, this one is one of the ones where they basically resolve the situation fairly quickly, and there's still a lot of time left. Well, it's a good job this wasn't a classic series story, because if this was a classic series story, they'd be dragging it out, even to get to 50 minutes for a two-parter. Yeah, maybe the extra couple minutes could have been showing the corporation being brought down, Doctor. Just saying. Anyway, positives. So first of all, Cora's song is absolutely amazing, as is her other song that they play earlier on. But the one that she sings for the Hellions is amazing, and that's at least gives hope that there will be some justice for the Hellions in the future. Second of all, as I was starting to say, this does look really amazing. The whole set looks amazing. The costumes and the aliens and the music, it's all good. Dugadoo is a future #1 alongside I've got a dog from Fred called Fred from Devil's Court. Rylan is great in his cameo. The other supporting actors and guest actors are brilliant, especially I can't remember, Freddie Fox as Kid. He's a really great villain. I really like there's this one point where the director in the control booth is trying to reason with him. He's like, I'm busy! And then his Delta Wave is brought in by the robot, and he calms down. He's like, with this? Like, that was a great couple seconds change of emotions within the performance. That was really good. And I think he enjoyed Wins as well. She was a good supporting villain, although surprisingly she doesn't try to help Kid when the Doctor's torturing him. She's just standing back and watching in shock. Funny enough, so is the director, but then once they're stuck down, she then uses the opportunity to take control of the security, and she was shocked at what was going on already, but after that she's like, back to what I was like before. I don't really care. I know she would want to put the villains in custody, but I think maybe have a bit more of a care, after what you've just seen. Yeah, that whole sequence, I think, could have been readjusted, to be honest. Or at least the majority of it. The visual effects look really great. This is the episode that most of this budget would have gone in, along with the animation for Lux. Especially since the last two were a lot more budget-saving episodes with a Earthbound setting. I mean, yeah, a lot of practical stuff costs a lot as well, but in terms of the visual effects, they would have saved money on both of the mostly on Lucky Day, but also besides the spider in the web bits and the whole Barbara I am so and so thing that he pretended to be called moment, and all the stuff on the wall with the stories. Other than those bits, it mostly saved money on the effects. So yeah, this one is where the effect, and the well as well, to be honest. So this is one where they're putting a lot of the effects into it, as well as maybe next two episodes as well. Yeah, it all looks absolutely spectacular. It's directed amazingly, and it's got an amazing performance. So it is a really great story, and we've also got some really fun supporting characters like Gary and Mike. Uh, Gary is the Interstellar Song Contest superfan, aficionado, let's say, whilst Mike's a nurse, much like Belinda. And then we've also got Cora, who's also a brilliant supporting character. I'd say she's probably the MVP of the story. To be honest, as much as I like Gary and Mike, I think Cora wins out on the best supporting character of the story, or best guest character of the story awards that I'm now going to give out to these stories. Deluxe, it was Mr. Ring-a-Ding, of course. He's still my favourite supporting character of the series. For the Well, as great as Aris was as a character, I'm going to give it to the lead commander of the group of the soldiers. The lucky day it was Conrad for being such a likeable guy, only to turn out to be an absolute bastard of a guy. Ooh, great modern villain. And last episode, it was the Barber. Oh, and also Robot Revolution. I don't think I have a specific MVP. Honestly, I'd probably give it to Belinda herself, in honesty. And Joy to the World would be Anita. No question. So, the MVPs of the season per episode are Anita, Belinda, Mr. Ring-a-Ding, leader of the army group in the Well, Conrad, and the Barber, and now Cora. I'm going to say special honourable mention goes to Dugadoo, of course, or whoever sung Dugadoo. As for the next two episodes, we shall see. But yeah, overall, I think the Interstellar Song Contest is very good until the end of Act 2, start of Act 3, when we get to the climax, or what is the main resolution of the story. It's got a lot of a post-climax calming down period. And those bits are fairly good. It's mainly that climax, start of Act 3, or the end of Act 2, start of Act 3, that I wish had another draft. I wish had been rewritten. I wish they had changed it up a bit. I wish they'd shown it was more of a bad thing that the Doctor did it, and that he was more in the wrong for doing it, despite stopping the villains. And he really should have been called out for it. And then they go and stop, or rather bring down, the even bigger villains who are off screen. So I really think that should have been the case. You can still keep the Doctor sort of torturing him, but you've got to show it more in the negative light, or he's got to stop sooner if he wants to, retain the hero position. I think this episode is probably going to be one of the ones that's going to be rated 12 by the BBFC. Now, I've questioned their ratings of some of these, or most of these episodes since Series 9 onwards, and especially since Series 11 onwards, of how many they've been giving a 12 rating. But I think if they've given Dalek a 12 rating back in Series 1, if they gave that a 12 rating because the hero of the story, the Doctor, tortured a Dalek, and they thought that was not seen as a good role model moment, and thought it was not appropriate for under 12s to watch, so they gave it the higher age rating. But if they gave that episode a 12 rating because the hero tortured a Dalek, a literal space Nazi, what the heck are they going to think of the Doctor torturing a genocide survivor who was about to commit another massive genocide himself? But how do they feel about the hero of the story basically almost becoming as bad as the villain? And the villain's not a Dalek this time round, and the one with the Dalek did get a 12 rating. Yeah, I think that's going to be an automatic 12 for this one as well. And that's not going to be one I'll question. I can question other ones, but this is not going to be one of the ones I will. Because if they gave Dalek a 12, they're almost certainly going to give this one a 12 because of that. It won't be a 15. It's not that bad. It absolutely will never be a 15. But yeah, I mean, this story could easily have been a PG, possibly. I mean, that where they're going up into space, that is a really shocking moment and a really great moment. But I think it still would have been a fairly PG episode until that bit. And yeah, I think if you want to keep the Doctor as a role model, and that's the other thing, if the Doctor is supposed to be a role model, and then if he's not really called out for going too far with punishing the villains in a similar way, yeah, that's not really good thing to present. They don't say it was a good thing, but they don't really call him out more for it. And as I mentioned, that they should have done that. And now I'm just going to be repeating myself, both what I've already said and also what I said in the reaction. So I'll just kind of move on now. So yeah, overall, besides the questionable climax to this story at the start of the third act, this is a really fun and enjoyable story that, yeah, it mostly works. It's just that the end, the climax, like with Klablam, which I already mentioned before, kind of let it down, despite being really good up until that point. And then the ending was just a bit of a massive letdown. It brings the story's reputation down with it, and I think the same's going to be said for here, although it happens a bit sooner than Kablam's one, and they have this other stuff afterwards. So, yeah. Overall, it's a really fun and enjoyable story, except for the climax, which needed to be redone. It has a good idea, but the morals and the politics don't know where they want to be. They don't know whether to show the Hellions as a victims, with some of them taking action to get revenge, or to say that they absolutely deserve to be shot. They can't really settle on a good middle ground. And I think, as I've mentioned, if the Doctor had been told the truth about them and called out for his actions, and then they go off and deal with the corporation whilst the terrorist Hellions are arrested as well, good middle ground, and it would have shown the Doctor going too far as a negative thing. But they don't do that. Well, they show a little bit of the Doctor being remorseful, but mostly they don't do that. So I think that drags the episode down significantly. Otherwise, I could have seen this as I was enjoying this. I thought it would be a 9 out of 10, but after thinking about that, yeah, no, it can't be any higher than an 8. So I'm going to be giving the Interstellar Song Contest an 8 out of 10. I think the bulk of it is really good and really entertaining and very well done. It's just that the climax, the resolution, it's not good. Or at the very least, it could have been done much better. And I think they were getting there. They were close. But they fumbled it. And now I can't see the episode past, once we get to that point. The episode is a big letdown, save for the surprise reveal of Mrs. Flood. As good as as great as Cora's song is, and as fun as the bring everybody back down to making your mind up by the Buzzcocks, I believe. As fun as those bits are, it's just it's just a bit of a letdown. And the rest of the episode was really good, so yeah, I don't know. I just think that should have been rewritten. Well, I said in the reaction that the review was probably going to be around a similar length to that, because that was a fairly long reaction. So, so I guess it's time to end the review. But hang on a second, I haven't talked about the mid-credits scene, the Mrs. Flood review. Well, since this review is going to be about the same length as the reaction, and we basically wrapped up the main portion of the review, let's talk about this quickly before we finish. So at the end, the Doctor and Belinda are in the museum, and they talk to the Graham Norton hologram, who then tells them that Earth was indeed destroyed on May 24th, 2024. So they rush back to Earth on that day using the Vindicator, but once they arrive, they realise, oh shit, something is really bad, and the TARDIS doors implode inside, that the fire's bursting in. What a cliffhanger. But we are not done. In the mid-credit scene, Mike and Gary are reviving the last person who was stuck in the Mafety field, and it turns out to be Mrs. Flood, who was already there watching the Interstellar Song Contest and has been following the Doctor and knowing about the Vindicator, and she's been following them and wants to get back to the same time period. For whatever reason, we'll find out next week or the week after. One of the next 2 episodes. So she then reveals that her brain stems were frozen whilst in space, which is deadly for a time lady. She's a time lady. So we're about to get the reveal, and also a regeneration. So Mrs. Flood regenerates into... Hang on. No, she bi-generates. We've got our second bi-generation. Now, this is supposed to be rare, so maybe they'll tie the bi-generation of both the Doctor and Mrs. Flood's character, I'll reveal them in a sec, to be sort of something's going on, and now, because of that, it's now made them bi-generate. Possibly, because it's otherwise supposed to be extremely rare. Never been done before. So, interesting. Anyway, so Mrs. Flood's successor is played by Archie Punjab, who I know from being the older sister in Bend It Like Beckham. And she reveals that she is in fact, I'm getting goosebumps already, that she is in fact Varani. No way, they actually finally did it. Now everybody can shut up about everybody else being the Rani until otherwise proven. Oh, what am I talking about? Everybody keeps saying David Tennant or Matt Smith is going to be the next Doctor until they officially cast the next Doctor. Of course, they're going to continue saying this mysterious person is the Rani or the Master until otherwise proven. Or the Monk. It'll be the Monk next. Or the War Chief, maybe, after the War Games in colour. Anyway, so yes, Mrs. Flood is in fact the Rani. And now we've got another one. And whilst the Anita Dobson doesn't show too much of the Rani's traits, she feels more of her own original character or a sidekick. And Archie Punjab, in just a minute, feels like a superb successor to Kate O'Mara's Rani from the classic series and Siobhan Reedman's from the Big Finish audios she was in. Absolutely marvellous. And also seeing the clip from Wishworld that was released yesterday, yeah, she carries that on really well. I think Archie Punjab's going to be an incredible Rani. Maybe she could even be the best, but it'll be hard to top Kate O'Mara, who is the iconic one. Well, obviously, she was the only one on screen, and not as many people know about Siobhan Reedman's, as great as she was as well. But maybe Archie Punjabi, I hope I'm saying that name right, could be the best Rani? We'll see how she is in the next 2 episodes. I mean, she could maybe they'll completely ruin the character. Maybe they'll make them better than ever. Or maybe they'll be just right. Well, as just right as a new version of the character can be compared to the original. Same with Mrs. Flood going forward. Now we know who she is. How is that going to work out? Hopefully she'll be more of her own entity and not a servant to her successor, as we've seen at the end of this episode and in that preview clip I just mentioned. She sort of still feels a bit like, second in command. Second in command's fine, but the Rani's servant rather than her predecessor, who they are working together with. Like how we got glimpses of that with the 2 Masters in World Enough in Time and the Doctor Falls, when they, quote, teamed up, unquote, for a little bit. They were sort of more equals at that time. Or even the Rani and the Master back in The Mark of the Rani, the first Rani story. So I'm interested to see how the dynamic between the 2 of them is going to play out. In the meantime, that was a really great scene. I know not everybody was on board with it, but that was a great, shocking scene. So that's it from my review of the Interstellar Song Contest. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time in 2 weeks. If you get this video out on time. So in 2 weeks, we will then be doing a review of both episodes of the finale, because it's one story, so I'll be reviewing it as one, even though each will get their own reaction video. So stay tuned next time, where I reveal the grand finale of Season 2, Wishworld and the Reality War. And it looks like it's going to be a big one, folks. Stay tuned. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the Nicholas Payne YouTube channel.